All right, man, let's get this show started, y'all. We back in the building. Y'all already know the vibe. Smash that like button. Ain't gonna hurt your fellas, ain't gonna cost you. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel, because we got to talk about this Wack 100. Now, a lot of people had it misunderstood what Wack 100 actually did. Wack 100 posted some paperwork of Larry Hoover back in 1968. I mean, we talking, God, bruh. So a lot of people was on the comments, and they was like, nah, Wack, you out of control. You bringing up some 1968 paperwork when he was like 18 years old and whatever. So people probably didn't understand what Wack was talking about, because Wack actually posted on the story that he was going to explain about the paperwork. He said he didn't agree about it. He was going to explain about it. So when I listened to Wack 100 last night, shout out to Wack 100, he don't agree with it. He said he calling it cap, and I'm going to let y'all hear everything he spoke about it. So a lot of people that was just running with the paperwork on picture, and they just assumed that Wack 100 was out of control and he out of pocket. No, you see, sometimes I got to sit back and listen before you react. Y'all might have went to his story. He was going to talk about this in Clubhouse, which he actually did. And Wack 100 is not agreeing with that paperwork. Wack 100 is actually going further than this. He's saying that somebody put that out there for somebody allegedly to harm Larry Hoover when he gets to the state prison. So if the paperwork is official, we all know how this gang politic rolls in prison and everything and all that. Sometimes some people are actually they'll try to get at you after 70-something goddamn years, 60-something years, or 50-something years. Because this is an opportunity now that he's in a state prison, he got more freedom and people around him and all that type. See, where he was locked up at in Colorado, Larry Hoover, bro, do y'all research on the ADX down there in Colorado prison, on federal prison. That shit ain't no joke. No joke. But we got to talk about this, and I'm going to let y'all actually hear Wack 100 talk about this, because he's calling it cap, and Wack 100 is saying that somebody put this out there now because he's heading to state prison, and allegedly they probably want to harm Larry Hoover. That's alleged. We're going to talk about this because it's a possibility. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we got Larry Hoover Jr. He's going to explain about the pardon that Trump did as far as the federal, not the state, because Larry Hoover is headed to the state prison as we speak right now in Illinois. So smash that like button, man. Let's get this show started. Yo. If they know, they know. It's your boy Smoke News TV, back in the building. Smash that thumbs up. It ain't going to hurt your feelings. It ain't going to cost you. Share this video. Make sure you keep that notification bell on so you know when I'm dropping my video. Shout out to all my members that got their membership, Team Smoke Gang. Shout out to everybody that been smashing that subscribe button since day one and now. Couldn't do it without y'all, so appreciate all the love to everybody. Yeah, let's get this copyright out the way, because we got a lot to talk about, so y'all might as well sit back, like one up on this one. Copyright fair use disclaimer. You can find it in my description on my channel. Everything that I speak on over here is for educational and entertainment purpose. Again, copyright fair use disclaimer. You can find it in my description on my channel, on this channel. Everything that I speak on over here, absolutely for educational and entertainment purpose. Clips and videos I play also owned by the original creators. So we got this right here. And if people didn't see this, it's a couple of internet. Shout out to Key Talk. Shout out to a couple websites. And I mean, on IG, they called it. And I mean, Wack 100 posted a photo paperwork explaining how Larry Hoover informed police after a gang battle took place. Now, y'all can try to read this if y'all want, whatever, or I could post, hold on, let's post another picture so y'all can see what's going on here. Now, this is the paperwork. This is the paperwork right here. We talking 1968 when Larry Hoover was in high school, y'all. This kid was what? 18, 17 years old. Now, let this marinate in y'all brain before we get to the clips. Larry Hoover at 68 around there. This is around the time when Black Panther, this is around the time when all these gang cultures that we got now was actually getting started in the 60s. The Bloods, the Crips, the Latin Kings, the Mexican gangs. The Mexican gangs probably go back a little further in the 50s, whatever, in California. But what I'm trying to explain to y'all here is that a lot of these gangs was actually started around this time in the 60s. So a lot of these guys that's OGs, that's godfather to this gang culture, they were 16, 17, 18 years old in high school. They just battling, fighting, fighting over Turks and all that shit. We all know the history. I ain't got to break it down to y'all, breaking the subtitles. But this is the shit that was going on. There was young kids. So somebody actually dropped this paperwork of Larry Hoover giving a statement to the police explaining about another rival and giving it, I guess, information, giving a name to another rival to the police at that time when they was, everybody was out there scrambling. Everybody's getting to it. Everybody's out there throwing hands at each other. This is before the weapons and all the death and all this. We talking 60s. Everybody was scrambling out there. Hands and feet on each other back in the days. Y'all know the vibes on that. Then little weapons started coming along a little later after the years went by. But somebody actually put this out there, and it's kind of weird that they put this out there after 24 hours of Trump pardoning them in the federal prison. Y'all get what I'm trying to explain here? Anybody that's involved in gang culture know this is a no-no right here. They kicked out OG Mack. Now, if y'all know about the East Coast Bloods and all this, I ain't here to break down the goddamn history. But they kicked out OG Mack because allegedly OG Mack snitched on his co-defender back when they was young. You know, the East Coast Blood, OG Mack and all this. You know what I mean? Everybody know what the hell I'm talking about. If you're from the East Coast and they down south, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about the East Coast Bloods. I ain't got to break the history down. But this is kind of similarity to the OG Mack situation, when they boot them out of the family because some old paperwork came up when OG Mack was 18 years old, snitching on his co-defender when he was young. 18, 19, 17, whatever, it doesn't even matter. But that's a different story. We're not here to talk about no politics and gangs in the East Coast. It's similarities to the Larry Hoover situation and what I'm trying to explain to y'all. They bring some paperwork from 1968. Now, Wack 100 is going to break this down clearly to y'all too. Larry Hoover was in the streets for 5 years before he ended up going to jail for life. He was in a state prison for almost, 10 years in the state prison before he ended up catching the federality charge, and after that, they booted him to Colorado. So if this paperwork was sealed while he was out, and he was doing his bid in the state prison back in the 70s and the 80s, whatever you want to call it, why nobody didn't get at the Larry Hoover back then? Why is they bringing this out now? And why is all of a sudden it's popping up because he's going to the state prison now? Now, according to Wack 100, his theory and my theory, there's always other niggas that's trying to replace you and take your place in that family. Now, we all going to say that Larry Hoover is not a gang member no more, none of that. We understand that. But who's we to say that if Larry Hoover do get pardoned on his state prison time, if he do, everybody is not kumbaya to what Larry's going to do when he come home. Some people still want to live the gang culture. Some people might feel some type of way of Larry snitching back in 1968. We don't know. But we're going to get to this, though, man. Smash that like button, because this is something to think about. Somebody allegedly is probably trying to put a hit out on Larry Hoover when he gets to the state prison. This is according to Wack 100. I sat back and I thought about it. I said, damn, he makes sense, though. Not everybody's on the same ride with Larry Hoover. Not everybody is agreeing with Larry Hoover. It's a lot of shit that we probably don't know about that a lot of homies in the GDs, whatever, up in Illinois state prisons, probably not feeling Larry Hoover. Y'all got to think about that. There's always other niggas that's trying to knock you out of your position, even though Larry is 75, 74 years old. But I'm pretty much sure Larry Hoover probably in great condition too, though. So a couple OGs probably not feeling him, probably trying to knock him out the position so they could take that spot, whatever shit that's going on for this paperwork to come out damn near 50 years later, 50 plus years later is bugged out to me. And Wack 100 feel the same way. But before we get to Wack, let's get to Larry Hoover Jr. and explaining about the federality getting pardoned, but now he got to face the state. Peep this out. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, because like I said, we got a lot to talk about, man. Y'all already know the vibes.
Explain to them that how Trump has freed him from the feds, but what's going on with the state?
Okay. Trump has freed my father from federal custody. But as I told people plenty times before, it's been a dual jurisdiction. So now the state has the opportunity to go get him. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to reach out to Governor Pritzker to let him know that my father would be a blessing to this city. And he could also leave the city if he needs him to leave. But we dealing with Pritzker, and he can go into state custody. And all he has to do is strike his pen and say that we don't need this geriatric old man. He served his time. Like he's not worried about leading any type of gang organization or running the streets. If he does anything for the streets, be telling the YNs that you're going to live the life that he lived if you don't change your life.
And that's a fact. Let's continue though. That's the shit I said in my last video. It's the YNs, the young niggas, the young little gang. I mean, is they gonna listen to a 75-year-old that's a possibility probably could come home off his state if they partner him in the state? Because the state of Illinois is not playing with this nigga. And I feel like it's a little conspiracy. Alleged. I feel like it's a little kind of funny how 1968 paperwork come out of Larry Hoover when he was 18, 17 years old. Bro, people get hit up at any age. And people that don't understand, and the people that do understand what I'm trying to explain here, for the people that do understand, put it in the comment section. Y'all already know the vibes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Not everybody's on board with Larry Hoover. Not everybody loves you. You got some people that don't love you in the same family. Let that marinate, man. But let's continue with it. Larry Hoover Jr. is talking about the state thing and the federality situation.
Asset and a blessing to this community. All the people that stuck on some other stuff, like your understanding is just kind of weak. Your understanding of life, your understanding of manhood, your understanding of being a woman. We not with that. We all about peace and love. And we need Pritzker to understand that he will be a blessing to this community. And we want him to give this man a second chance. Pritzker believes in redemption and believe that he should be redeemed. Everybody else in this situation has been able to have redemption and have a second chance at life. And I would love to actually be able to hold my father. I'm close, but I'm not all the way there yet. I know it don't sound right, but I want to hug and kiss a man. My kids want to hug and kiss their grandfather. My mother wants to hug and kiss her husband. Like, it's a whole family out here. This is a man in a man's life. This has nothing to do with any nonsense. We need for everybody to let Pritzker know that Larry Hoover will be a blessing to this community, an asset, no type of threats. If anything, it may be even more peaceful.
Larry, explain.
Definitely. I agree with him. If y'all check my last video with the Larry Hoover part and whatever, check that out. I talk about a lot about if Larry Hoover is going to actually, do he got the energy to even come back to the neighborhoods to try to educate these YNs and the damage that he left out there in Chicago streets with the founder of this culture, the GDs, or the growth and development. Because I see somebody in the comment, yo, Smoke, it ain't gangster disciple no more, it's growth and development. I'm like, all right, hold up, Chad, damn, relax. We all understand that, but we gotta understand that it first started as gangster disciples, and we gotta understand that the founder of that shit was Larry Hoover. So we're not gonna just switch the title and be like, yo, it's growth and development. Nah, we understand where it's at now. Duh, like I understand. I mean, I understand the lifestyle, the culture, all that. I understand. But we gotta educate these youngers and understand that that was the first name. That was the original name. That part, I sit back and wait on that. You know what I mean? But the whole thing is they actually gonna listen to a Larry Hoover when he come home. And is the state gonna actually pardon Larry Hoover? Because the same people that denied Larry Hoover like 5 years ago, and we're gonna get to the news clip, they actually talked about this. So it could be a more understanding of what's going on here. And is Larry Hoover fishy, allegedly. Little paperwork coming out 50, 60 plus years later. It's just kind of funny. It's just kind of funny. Remember what I told you in my last video? Allegedly, man, the Illinois politician world up there, they not all in hands and kumbaya for Larry to come home. They still want Larry in jail. They want Larry to rot in there, man. Meaning that the state of Illinois. So now that he beat the federality, he got pardoned, he on his way to the state now. Peep this out on the news clip, though. Peep this out of how they explaining this and how it's going to be hard for hopefully for the state to pardon Larry Hoover for him to come home also, because a lot of little vendetta going on between the state, allegedly, and Larry Hoover. Peep this out, though. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel.
NBC5 investigates what will happen next to Chicago gang kingpin and killer Larry Hoover 24 hours after his life sentences were erased by President Trump.
Now, Hoover is being processed out of the federal supermax prison in Colorado and into an Illinois prison where he is expected to ask for parole from a 200-year state sentence. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy on the story has some answers for us tonight. Chuck?
Allison, at age 74, gangland leader Larry the King Hoover has spent most of his life behind bars. Tonight, if history holds true, prison is where Hoover will spend the remainder of his life. Hoover cannot leave his past, is what the Illinois Prisoner Review Board said just 3 years ago when he asked for parole. And most of the same people that said no to Hoover then will make the decision now. Larry Hoover had already been arrested more than a dozen times when he kidnapped and killed a drug dealer in this Englewood alley in 1973. William Pookie Young shot between the eyes, dead at age 25 for stealing drugs from Hoover's gangster disciple street gang. Hoover sentenced to 200 years in state prison. He would later be convicted of numerous federal crimes as the leader of a murderous drug gang spanning 36 states and commanding a criminal army of 30,000 soldiers. With this stroke of a pen by President Trump yesterday, Hoover's 6 federal life sentences were commuted. His son thankful tonight.
I think he's been a political prisoner because of the power that he possesses.
When Larry Hoover leaves the Supermax prison here in Colorado, where he has been in solitary confinement, it will be in the custody of Illinois officers who will return him to a maximum security state prison. But in Illinois,
Now, y'all heard that. Now, when we get to this, we're going to finish the news clip. They send them to the state. Paperwork all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. Let me pedal back. Paperwork from damn near 50 plus years ago come out from nowhere. Once he get pardoned from his federal prison bed, now going to the state, which is a lot of freedom, a lot of niggas, a lot of ops, a lot of people that probably not liking Larry. We don't know what the hell is going on. They could actually, now they physically could, you know, they body to body next to you. They next to you. We in the yard together now. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Paperwork, headed to the state, yard, more freedom, people around you. What's going on here? Who's trying to actually knock off Larry Hoover, allegedly? Some people are like, nah, Smoke, you bugging, this and that. No, you think I'm bugging. That paperwork is real. And all of a sudden they drop that shit. He's an old man now, 75 years old. You got to understand, he was in federal prison, locked up in solitary for decades. Let's continue. Y'all going to understand when we get to Wack 100 when he going to actually talk about this too. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, because this is nasty work, man.
Illinois, Hoover is eligible for parole and return to the streets, a benefit that was denied him numerous times, most recently in late 2022. The parole board noting Hoover's role in this riot at Pontiac Prison in 1978 and his use of a decoding dictionary in his cell in 2017, seeming to support the belief that Hoover has continued to run gang rackets from jail, despite his promise that he's been reformed. According to the 2022 Illinois parole parole denial, Hoover's past continues to impact his present and will forever affect his future. Parole release at this time would not be in the interest of public safety. What all this means tonight is that Trump's commutation won't matter and Hoover won't be released, according to this former longtime Illinois Parole Board member and chairman.
I think it's all symbolic, and I think it's all just drama because the president well knows that Mr. Hoover isn't going anywhere and that he's not going to be released. He's not going to be given freedom. He's got to come back and fulfill his Illinois sentence. I think he's trying to impress his friends, Kanye West, other celebrities who have been pushing for this pardon, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. He, at the end of the day, isn't going anywhere.
Just a couple years ago, when Hoover last came up for parole, the state board denied release by a vote of 10-1. That single parole board member on Hoover's side is no longer on the board, but a majority of the others are, and they voted against Hoover's release less than 3 years ago. This time, they will be the only people standing between Hoover and freedom. Allison?
Chuck, thank you.
Nasty work. Now y'all gotta understand what's going on. I hope people watching the video. Some people just be Smoke, you talking over that? Nah, we ain't talking. We letting the video rock, and I gotta react to it at the same time. That's how that works here. For some people that was in the comment, they don't understand. But anyway, going back to the story, y'all understand now. The state, it's all on the state now to make their decision. It's all on the state that had made that same decision a couple years back and said, nah, nigga, you're gonna stay your ass up in that federal. We ain't doing none of that. We ain't parting you from the state charges either. So now, hopefully, they might pardon them. But see, it's just kind of, now we get into the spicy part now, because I know people want to get to the Wack 100 part. Now we get into the spicy part. Now we get into the part that's very interesting, the part that's kind of fishy, shaky, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of funny how they want to drop a 1968 statement when he was in high school, when they was just building up that little gang culture, whatever, in Chicago, you know what I mean? The GDs and the BDs, whatever you want, the GDs, whatever, all the disciples. It's just funny how they drop that now while the old man is headed up to Chicago, Illinois State Prison, where people actually can touch him now. Pause. And y'all know what I mean by that. Now you got people all by him now. I mean, not saying Larry ain't got it. I mean, Larry gonna have niggas up there holding him down. Don't get it twisted. That's the Godfather. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. It's just kind of strange how that paperwork just ended up out of nowhere. And if anybody know that gang culture in prison, especially in prison, there's always somebody that's trying to take your spot. There's always somebody that's trying to make a name out of you. That part. Who put that paperwork out there? Who responsible for this? This is something that I agree with Wack 100. Let's get to the Wack 100 now, because he's actually going to talk about this. And he's saying this is something cap about this situation. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
So, now these individuals, we talk about 1968, we talking about the height of all these organizations being established. We talking Black Panther area. Pizza might be here or something, I don't know. We talking about the height of a lot of things, right? So when we dealing with this, right, Larry Hoover go to jail, I believe, in 75. So we talking about 7 years. This just me. Ain't no way from 68 to 75, his growth years to becoming who he is to his organization, his clique, his crew, whatever they want to call it back then. We know Mr. Hoover don't represent that today. But I find it hard to believe it was a shooting and some dudes was incarcerated and they still put this man in position to be who he is.
We're going to continue. Now, think about that. Paperwork happened in 68. Larry Hoover went in. when he caught that body. Remember, he caught the body, whatever. And I mean, he ended up catching that body for a drug deal, whatever. And the news clip that showed you, he went in. Now they still put him in position to be the head boss of the GDs and all that. Why he in prison? Think about that. Allegedly, this paperwork supposed to have been out. Now they don't. Now, according to the game coach and all that, they don't play around with the snitching thing. But to put Larry Hoover in position to be the guy, the head of the GDs in prison and all that, and that paperwork was out in 1968. After that, when he went to jail and all that shit, like, I don't understand that. Why they didn't handle that back then? Why put that at now? Why put that shit out now while he's going into state prison at the age of 75? But we're going to continue to talk about this. Smash that like button. Let's continue. Now, remind you, we left it off when he said they put him in position even though the paperwork was out in 1968. Peep this up.
To be who he is, he goes to prison.
And he went in 73, so shoot, that was even 2 years.
73, so we like 68, that's 5 years. He goes to prison. When he gets to prison, he's who he is. You hear nothing of it. That piece is gonna be coming in a minute. You hear nothing of it. In prison, it's growth in prison, and back then it was some of the most deadliest, dangerous times, I'm sure. You hear nothing of it then. 10 years, 20 years, he catch bad time, life sentences. He goes to the feds, you hear nothing of it then. 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 52, 53 years. You hear nothing of it until 24 hours after a pardon. So my question is, who went down or had knowledge of the court building and requested these documents? We need to know where that person is.
Right.
Because without that person, I'm going to call it cap. I'm going to call it took 53 years, no, 58 years. The 5 years he was on the street, the 53 he been confined, for this to pop up.
Think about that. Oh, we ain't done. We is not done, but think about that. All them years and all of a sudden the paperwork come out now. Allegedly some paperwork with Larry Hoover when he was young, starting up the GDs and all that. It was a rumble and all that. This is the statement, and he gave a statement on his ops. He gave a name and everything on his ops to the police. And it might sound petty for some people that don't understand what I'm talking about, because when I've seen this, I'm like, damn, what the hell Wack 100 talking about breaking up some 1968 paperwork? But see, Wack was defending this last night. He talked about this, what we hearing right now. A lot of people thought Wack was trying to be funny. Wack like, nah, there's something strange about this. He lived all them years with the paperwork allegedly supposed to be out. But they never, and we talk about the heyday of prison. I mean, it was rough in the 70s, rough in the 80s. So snitching was a no-no. There was zero tolerance in the 70s and the 80s. And I'm lying? I said back, I'll wait. Gang coaches that was involved in the 70s and 80s. Y'all know that shit was no game, especially in the prison system. And Larry Hoover continued living his life in state prison all the way till he caught a federal charge in state prison. That's when they end up sending him on to the federal max out there in Colorado, and that's where he was at ever since till now. And now all of a sudden he's going back to the state prison as an old man. Because they remember, they'll get you while you old, while you weak, while you ain't really strong the way you was back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. They'll wait. And all of a sudden the paperwork just boom, just pop up now. What the hell is going on? As they trying to knock Larry Hoover out, they trying to knock him off, allegedly. Let's continue. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm just trying to paint a picture and let y'all know what's going on here. It's a lot of smoke in the air going on.
Okay. A lot of these people might not be alive, but shit, where they family members at? Where's the chatter of this at? Where I have heard nothing about it. 24 hours after Larry Hoover been pardoned by Trump on the Fed side, all of a sudden, some alleged snitch paperwork pops up from 1968. I ain't buying it. I'm going to tell you what this is. This is a plot and ploy to try to get Larry Hoover assassinated before they release him from them state facilities. They're trying to plant a seed right now with them youngsters. Plant a seed right now in that state facility for somebody who may want to get a rep, might want to get a rep, and have an excuse of doing it. Send Mr. Hoover in his 70s to this state facility where he can finally go outside and get some fresh air and use one of these people, these youngsters, to assassinate him because they couldn't do it.
Allegedly. Everything Wack said right there is alleged now. But I sit back, I'll wait. What's going on here, yo? What the hell is going on? Ganja. What's going on? Shout out to Wack 100 for having his own little theory on this. Hold up. Before we continue, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, do me that favor. Y'all already know the vibe. Because we not done. There's still more to come. But I just want to stop right there and let that marinate. Why all of a sudden this alleged paperwork come out? While the old man, now he's not healthy as an ox like he was back in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, probably early 2000s. Then we talking about a 74, 75-year-old man. We don't know what beef he had with niggas before he went to the Federale building. We don't know what beef he had back in the state prison back in the 80s and all that. Because once you get to Colorado in that cell, you by yourself. You locked down. Niggas can't really get you in Federale down there in Colorado. If they do, it's some type of connect and all that. Now, there's got to be some connections and all that shit, but it's very hard to try to get somebody in that prison that he was at for decades. So we don't know what type of beef that alleged, if this paperwork is even real, or somebody probably had an altercation with Larry Hoover before he went to the Federales back in the early days of the state prison of Illinois. We don't know. We don't really know. But it's just kind of strange how somebody alleged put this paperwork that we don't know is it true? Is it real? We don't know. But it's just kind of funny why he's going to the state prison. They put this out there. And we all know how that shit works out. There's always a young nigga that's trying to make a name out of this stuff. And whoever got their hands on this, if it's real, why did they put it out there now at the age of Larry Hoover, at the age he had now? Y'all got to think about this. It's a lot of spin. It's a lot of narratives you can put on this right here because this shit is nasty if it's real. Why they put this out now? Let's continue, though, because we ain't done, man. Smash that like button. Y'all thought we was done? Nah, we ain't done.
You got to ask yourself, why now? They said he's going to be transferred in the next 2-3 weeks, right?
Yep, they transferred him already here at Dixon right now.
I'm going to go back. Hold up. They put that out now because he get transferred in a few weeks to the state prison. Let that marinate in y'all brain and y'all soul. Nah, smoke, that paperwork ain't real. Even if it's not real, like I said, it's alleged. We don't know. Even Wack 100, he called it a cap. He said, I don't know if it's real or not because this shit is old. It's an old-ass paperwork. But why put it out now? 2-3 weeks later, he's headed to the state prison. Anybody know about the prison life and all that? Y'all know that. You know what that shit comes with once you enter up in it. Let's continue.
You got to ask yourself, why now? They said he's going to be transferred in the next 2-3 weeks, right?
Yep, they transferred him already here at Dixon right now.
Okay, so now he's wide open. He ain't ADX, we can't get to him, right? Okay, so now he's wide open. Hey, listen, all you youngsters out there in that Illinois state, Don't fall victim to it. They trying to get you to do that dirty work. This man has been too high profile. The government, the FBI, would have released this shit. Now, I don't know who behind it. Your pizza for y'all. But it must be somebody behind it, because you're not going to get me to believe the 5 years he was out from 68 to 73, nobody knew about this. From 73 to, I think, 97 is when he caught his Fed shit. So we got 83, 93, 24 years in the state. Nobody knows about this. He's rising to his height. These dudes he the toll on, Larry Hoover went to jail and he was 24 years old on this situation. Them dudes would have spoke on this. That nigga told on us. It would have been out there somewhere, somehow, some way. Fuck it. We know a lot of them might be dead now, but what happened 24, 34?
Who put this out there? Because Wack got a point. Somebody would have been came out like, yo, that nigga told on my uncle back in 68. That nigga told on my father back in 68. Somebody would have been came out on the internet now, how the internet is, and how that people be playing with this internet and playing with people on all this shit. Somebody would have been came out and tried to say that shit about Larry Hoover. We never heard about it. Unless they kept it a secret. We don't know. That's why Wack like, yo, hold up, this shit is kind of strange. Who's trying to get this nigga up out of here? You know, Wack going overboard. Wack going to the, I mean, allegedly the authorities. I mean, the high level up authorities. I mean, I'm saying alleged, but somebody's got to be connected to the higher up authorities to get their hands on this paperwork, even if it's real. This shit is kind of crazy because Wack got a point. This nigga was in state prison for like almost 25, 24 years before he ended up going to the federal prison. In state prison, you could get touched. But see, like I said, back then, he was a little bit more stronger though back then probably. Probably had a big army, had a lot of niggas with him and all this. Now that he's an old man, he get the federality, he do all the music federality, maybe somebody trying to take his spot. And they was going back and forth. Maybe another OG from a state prison wasn't feeling Larry Hoover and federality, because you can't really reach out to Larry Hoover once he got locked up in Colorado. That shit was hard to reach out to that nigga. Everybody know how that ADX, whatever that prison down in Colorado is. That shit is crazy down there. But like I said, who put this out there? They trying to knock the old man off, allegedly? Let's continue though, man. We got 2 more clips to go, man. Let's continue, because this junk is nasty work.
44, 54, 60. What happened in the last 50 years from his youth to him being an elderly man? 24 hours after a pardon, where they got to move him from a federal facility to a state facility, all of a sudden, some snitch paperwork comes out from 1968, which could only be obtainable from the archives if you go to the court building to request it, and you would probably have to be an attorney and or those individuals that were part of the case to get this paperwork. All of a sudden it's up and it's out. Nah. And I'm quick to jump on this. And all y'all know, hey, listen, I've been catching the flack for being, I don't know what they say, I just been speaking my truth. But in this situation right here, I believe this is a plot and a ploy to poison some of them people's minds in the state facilities who may be a part of and or against whatever organization Larry Hoover stood for and represented originally, which we know he has denounced it all. So you may have some people got some ill feelings about that who don't understand the political stance on why he had to do that. I don't see that as a weakness. I see that as a strategic move. But let's look at the facts. Somebody need to first show us the receipt of going to order this shit from the archives of that Illinois court. It gotta be a body that says we're the one that went and requested it. You ain't just pulling this off the internet. No. Even if you go look up on Google.
Wow. Not even a whole day done went by. And
Need I say more? I sit back and wait. Shout out to Wack 400 for defending the situation, because it's kind of strange how all of a sudden of a paperwork alleged from 1968 when Larry Hoover was 18, 17 years old, whatever, they want to push that out now when a man is an old man, 75 years old, that's headed to the state prison with something absolutely happened to him. Because not everybody's on board with him. That's what I'm trying to explain to y'all. I understand the name, I understand who he is and all that, but you got to understand, not everybody is kumbaya with the nigga. Who put this paperwork out there for these youngins or the YNs or the OGs up there in the state prison that's not on board with Larry Hoover to try to allegedly try to harm him or try to get him up out of here? It's a lot of explaining to do. There's a lot going on. A lot of people see. A lot of people don't see. When people see that, they don't understand it. You got to sit back and start analyzing some shit like this. Like, damn, what the hell? They just putting paperwork out of nowhere. A lot of people were shocked when they even see that. A lot of people probably still don't even know about the paperwork. That's allegedly Larry Hoover giving a statement when he was young. And all of a sudden they push it out there while he's headed to the state prison after he got pardoned from the federales, where the federale prison at, where he couldn't get touched or nothing, nobody. That shit is locked down all day, every day. 1 hour, nigga, you come out by yourself, nigga. Ain't no, that shit is different. But in the state prison, people could get by you. People could get close to you. That part, I sit back and wait. I don't know, y'all. I want to hear y'all theory, hear y'all smoke, hear y'all commenting below, man. Give me y'all smoke in that comment, because this is nasty work. And hopefully Larry Hoover will be safe with this. Hopefully this is some, I don't know what type of paperwork this is. I don't know if this is legit, allegedly. It looking like it is, but the whole thing is, if it is legit, who was the person to put this out there, or who are the people to put this shit out there? Do they not want to see Larry Hoover come home if the state end up pardoning him on the state charges and let the old man come out and let him enjoy the rest of his life with his family and his grandkids and his kids and all that? So who put that out there? Who don't want to see that? It's them questions in all angles. It could be your own family, nigga, your own banner that you're the godfather of the nigga. That part, it could be anybody. Till then, to be continued, man. We'll find out what's going on here. But smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. If they know, they know. It's your boy Smoke News TV, man. Salute, gang. I'm out of here. This is nasty work.